Hello, everyone. We are here. We're not in the middle of summer yet, but I'm pretty excited. It's another session of our summer workshop speaker series brought to you by iFind You Clothes. I'm down here in the bottom corner. I am Felicia Jones, the lead researcher and founder of iFind You Clothes, and I've been having a lot of fun doing these presentations, and I got to make sure I get my cameras all right. And I've been trying to get like summer attire, even though I'm in the basement of my home. But don't worry, I will be hitting the beach really, really soon. And unfortunately, you won't be able to come with me all the time, but you might be able to if you stick around with I Find You Clothes. But today is going to be a really good one because we're going to talk about the one that makes me so excited, and this is traveling the world. And we're going to talk about getting paid and traveling the world as a public speaker. This is an option that you absolutely have as a speaker, and we're going to talk about that. I'm going to tell you all of the little stories that I've had, being getting out there and traveling, because traveling is one of the biggest things that I love to do. I think I love travel more than anything else. So I had to figure out a way to incorporate it into my business. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about getting paid and all of these little fun things. So let me go ahead and get these slides going so we can get into this. I am pretty excited. Like I said, I am Felicia Jones. I am the lead researcher and founder of I Find You Clothes. What we do, we actually go out and research speaking opportunities. I have a team and myself. We go out there and just see what's available in the United States, across the globe. And, it's been a lot of fun doing it. And we come across some of the most fantastic events that are looking for experts just like you. Now, I've been on multiple sides of the speaking world. I have booked speakers. I was a speaker coordinator for two amazing groups for about 4.5 years. I've also been a part of selection committees for keynote speakers, for TEDx. So that is a lot of fun. And I have been a speaker myself for the last, oh my gosh, 7 years of business. So I've been doing all kinds of things. I've been on national television answering personal finance questions. I've done 2 TEDx talks. Yeah, emceed events. So I try to bring the whole like gamut of viewpoints to this when it comes to speaking, not just as somebody who got on stage, but somebody who's booked speakers, somebody who researches the gigs. And I want to be able to bring you a lot of this amazing information that we have. So I have to first tell you, while we get all into this, I do have multiple monitors, so you will see me looking like here and here and here. I have the monitors going. If we have any technical difficulties, just hang with me. If something really crazy happens, we're just going to redo this workshop again. But of course, if you have any questions, for those of you who are watching through our Eventbrite site, all you got to do is hit that little button that says watch on YouTube. You can pop over here and you will have the ability to put in your questions, comments. I love questions. There's no silly question. So if you have anything, make sure you put it in the comment box. If you don't have any, that's okay. And if you respond later, absolutely fine. I get the notifications. That's kind of one of the things I love about doing this through YouTube, is I get the notifications and I will be able to answer you later. So I'm really excited about all of this. For our members, thank you so very much for being here. For our guests, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we're just gonna just jump into this. But I first have to tell you, I didn't realize that when I started this business, I kind of didn't think I would be able to travel anymore. So I come from a background. My background is I'm a computer scientist. I got my master's in systems engineering, and I was a scientist for the Navy. And I was one of those few lucky people that got on projects that made me travel the world. I've been to, I don't know how many countries, but I got to travel to NATO countries to do exercises with other militaries across the planet. And, some of my favorite places, the Republic of Georgia. Of course, London is one of my favorite cities of all time. Gosh, where else? Spain, Morocco. It's like when you have to think about these things, you can't remember. And Germany, I went to Germany quite a few times. And I know it sounds like I haven't been many places, but I can't really think at the moment. But I've also been able to go to a lot of places in the United States. I've been to Canada, I've been down to Mexico. And I love travel. So when I started the business, I didn't know if I would still be able to travel. And then also with my little sleuthing and getting out there and researching, I realized maybe I can put these two together. And I started finding conferences and events that needed speakers. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can still travel. And That's what we're going to talk about today, because a lot of us, we don't think that we can still travel. We think it could be just a vacation, but there is a way to incorporate all of this so that not only will you get your vacation time, fill your wanderlust like me, but also go out there, make some money, get on stage, have some other people cover the bill. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And for those of you who have 9 to 5 jobs, I'm going to give you some things to go and research that can help you get to all of these places as well, and you don't have to come out of pocket. Oh my gosh. So that's the most exciting thing about what we're going to talk about today. Let me go ahead and switch over to the presentation. So we're going to just jump right into this. Of course, if you got any questions, put them in the comment box. So our very first thing, what we're going to talk about today in today's discussion is the reality of speaking right now. So if you're watching this is during the time of COVID, and we have to address it. So we're going to talk about what the reality is when it comes to speaking. We're going to explore opportunities for those of you who are business owners and those of you who have 9 to 5s. If you work for anybody, if you have a 9 to 5, there are ways that you can still travel, get on stage as well, and share your expertise. We're going to talk about what it takes to get a yes, why negotiating is important. It's going to be one of the most important things you're going to have to learn. And then we're going to start creating an action plan, some things that you can do to, hit your goals, hit your targets, so you can get to where you want to go. And that, if you're like me, that's just straight up travel. I like to tell people that I do all this because I love, all the things that I do, but I really kind of run my business so that I can go and travel the world. I'm telling you, I'm a traveler. I'm an RV traveler as well. And we're going to be doing a few other workshops where I could tell you how to do this if you are an RV person, the technology, the Wi-Fi. We're going to get down into that in later sessions. But for right now, we really have to address what it's going to take for you to get on stage and travel the world and leverage your skills as a speaker so that you can do the things that you love. All right, so let's talk about speaking around the world right now and what is the reality of what's going on. So I have to tell you that opportunities are absolutely out there. Opportunities are out there to speak, but we have to live in a very different world these days, because I know I'm based here in the United States, and I know we have a very different perception of what's going on in the world of COVID. You have to realize that your perception is not going to be the world's perception. COVID is going to be a huge factor if you are traveling. A lot of countries are requiring you to be vaccinated. A lot of events are getting into vaccinated only, or you got to show proof. You got to test every day. You got to wear a mask. I'm only telling you this just to let you know what you're going to be walking into, and this will always be a factor. No matter what you believe or how you feel, this is just going to be a factor, and it's something that you're going to have to deal with. Are there speaking opportunities right now? Yeah, there are. There are in different countries. It's going to be very selective. You're going to have to build into some tight networks right now because there's so many restrictions on what we can do and where we can go, and especially with large events, small events, and things like that. So the opportunities are out there for those of you who just want to travel the United States. If you want to travel to Canada, down into Mexico, on our side of the planet, it is absolutely possible. Within other countries, you have to read the fine print, but the opportunities are there, and I really want you to think about those. But remember, when we're pitching for gigs, we're not getting gigs for right now. We're probably getting gigs for 3-6 months ahead. So that is the thing that you have to think about. You have time on your side. The other thing that I want to tell you about is that the virtual option when it comes to speaking. Now, the virtual option when it comes to speaking, meaning there are a lot of virtual opportunities, and I want you to jump on them. Now, when I say virtual, it really is going to be for building relationships. Now, what we're seeing is that if you show up for a lot of these virtual relationships, you make really good with the event organizers. You can kind of slide in and get a live invitation later on. A lot of people are just so appreciative that you're helping out with their event that you really can use this as a way of building relationships. And when it comes to speaking, half of the things that we're doing is all about relationship building. So I don't want you to not think about virtual, but just think of virtual events in different countries as a way of building relationships. Now, I've been seeing a lot of virtual events over in Europe, depending on what part of the world you want to go to. It is absolutely possible. If you speak other languages, great. But what I have found, for if you're like me, you can only speak English eloquently, kind of, maybe, and you can only butcher other languages. That is okay. You can still speak in English. A lot of events are kind of default English only, but if you do have the ability to speak other languages, the world has just opened a little bit more for you. One thing I will say is you should aim for 2022 and beyond. And right now, this is summer, of course, this is our summer workshop series. It's summer of right now, which is whatever year it is 2021. If you're looking for gigs, you will be targeting gigs for maybe a year out in 2022 up until fall of 2022 and going into 2023. So time really is on your side and you have time to focus, okay? You have time to focus, put a plan together, and start thinking about the future. And finally, I just want to tell you, be patient with the world right now. You just got to be patient with the world. I know we want things to go, but you really do have to keep being persistent, but also being patient at the same time. Not everybody is moving at the same pace as you, and the world is not moving at the same pace from everybody's perspectives. But out of all of this, there are opportunities out there. Absolutely. There are opportunities out there. I want you to start thinking about them now so that you don't get behind, so that you can travel, incorporate all these things. And of course, if you're trying to just travel United States, plenty of opportunities for you. For those of you who are in other countries and you want to come to the United States, plenty of opportunities for you to get on stage here. And we're going to talk about that as we go. All right. So one of the first things that we really have to talk about, and I'm going to address my business owners first, is you have to explore and research. I'm a researcher I don't know if it's by default or by destiny, but you have to start researching what's out there. A lot of these things don't necessarily just land in your lap when you want to travel. The first thing I want to tell you is you need to start adapting your talk for broader reach. A lot of us, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't niche or niche, depending on where you're going. You shouldn't stay in your niche or your niche, but you should also adapt your talk for broader reach. Meaning, if you're only talking about leadership in the knitting world, maybe you can take a lot of the things that you've learned from the knitting world about leadership and apply it to technology. Now, it may seem really weird. You're going to switch up your audience, but now we're starting to broaden our talk. I mean, most of the topics around leadership, they don't really change. We just change our audiences and change the background of the audiences and add in some of their specific challenges. But you can take this talk and broaden it out from not just the knitting world, but to technology, but to marketers. Of course, you're going to have to do your research to make sure you understand their pain points so that you can address them. But this is what I want you to start doing with your talks. You need to start adjusting your talks to get broader reach into different industries that can be used around the world and in different places. The other thing is you're going to have to get creative with this. You're going to have to get really creative with what you talk about. Now, I've had talks with people who say, I only want to work with women who are needing to change their life. And I'm going to tell you about my life, some of the things I've done, which is great. But now, can you apply that to marketing people? Can you tie that to event planners? Can you take what you have told this one group and expand it? That's going to be one of the key things to pay attention to when it comes to traveling with your talk and wanting to get on more stages outside of just where you live. So you're going to have to start thinking about adapting your talk for a broader reach. And of course, we're going to include different audiences, okay? And this is what I'm saying. You got to start taking your talk, matching it to an audience. And one of the things for our members inside of iFind You Close, I am so heavy on understanding the industry. That's why I want you to kind of think about the industries that you are targeting, because You will have the research for that industry, but if you are kind of a generalist in speaking, you can adapt your talk to different industries, especially around leadership and communications. And I'm going to tell you some of the biggest talks, the most requested topics, especially when it comes to broader audiences. One of the other things I have to tell you is that if you're going to want to try to move from where you are to from one city to another, from a different state to another, from one country to another, you need to start networking with different people. Oh, and I'm going to lean a lot of this on to folks who want to travel internationally, but you're going to have to start talking to people from different countries. Here's the thing. Let me go over to full camera. Here's the thing. There is somebody exactly like you in every country. Almost, kind of. There's somebody exactly like you. Your job is to go find the person just like you. Start networking. Start seeing where they go to speak. Start, pitching panels with them so that you can have these diverse and broad audiences. Network with people who are running events in different countries. Find the events that you love here. Find the equivalent. This is going to be some heavy work on you to really start researching how you can take your talk, your expertise, and your knowledge and take it to other countries. The other thing is you got to start meeting people from these places. I know sometimes we sit here in our little basement and we say things like, oh my gosh, I want to travel the world, but I don't want to make an effort. You're going to have to make a lot more of an effort than what you're doing if you really want to travel. Now, one of the things that struck me was, I love to travel and I was pretty aggressive. I would just reach out to people and say, hey, do you know somebody who needs a speaker that can do this, and this? And that was within my network, and it worked out for me. And when I went to one event, I got another event and I got another event. Now I have friends in different places. So your name gets tossed around in these other circles. So you got to start networking. You got to start your own community of experts that you can reach out to. They can reach out to you, and make sure that you can start helping each other. This is going to be a really big one for those of you who want to start traveling. You really do have to start networking with your peers. One of the best ways to do it is through LinkedIn, through social media. I met my very first person who helped me get my one of my first international gigs through Twitter. You're going to have to start communicating with people. You don't have to do all the social medias. Just choose the one and start reaching out to people. And then finally, I want you to start looking at your industry. Who are you targeting? Not necessarily the audience, but the industry. Is it technology? Is it manufacturing? Is it cattle? Is it, wine, retail? Start looking at your industry and then start looking at the industry that you want to target, and then look at that industry around the world. I have to tell you, there's real estate around the world. There's wine around the world. There's retail around the world. So one of the easiest ways is to get inside of an industry and start looking at where they go, what countries they affect, and then you can kind of hop along with them. So this is where, for my business owners, you're going to have to really start looking at your expertise, your talking, and putting down some research time to kind of really explore beyond that avatar. And I know a lot of us, we have gotten into, here's our avatar. If you don't know what an avatar is, it's something that some people came up with when it comes to describing your audience. We'll say we love to work with women between the ages of 35 to 45 who have 2 kids and who want to change their lives. That's great. That's who you are doing your copy and social media to. But when it comes to this speaking, you're gonna use that language in your talk. But when it comes to getting on stage, we have to really nail down and ask the question, where do I find my avatar? What kind of events are they going to? What kind of industries are they in? There's a lot of women around the world. I don't know if you know that, but there's a lot of women. There's a lot of women between the ages of 35 to 45. And there's a lot of women between the ages of 35 to 45 with 2 children who want to change their lives. But where are they? And this is where I have to tell people when it's the difference between, your audience and your avatar and creating your copy versus when it gets down to real straight up research and finding where they are so that we can get on stage to market to them. So this is where I want you to start thinking about the industries that you love and be very clear on industry, not audience, okay? And when I say industry, I'm like I said, real estate, commercial real estate, food processing, cattle, what if cookies, cookie making industry, cookie manufacturing industry, boot sellers. These are industries that I really want you to I want you to really start paying attention to as to where you want to be a unicorn. For myself, I decided that the travel industry was for me because it aligned to two things that I love. That was travel. Initially, I was talking about money, and I could talk about money and apply it to the people that are traveling. And that worked out very well for me, and I became a unicorn inside of that industry, and I've been able to kind of, jaunt the world with these people. Of course, if you have any questions around this, just let me know. Put it in the comment box. If it's not making any sense, I want to be able to, make it very clear to you on how you're going to have to approach this when you're trying to leverage your speaking skills to travel the world. And of course, we have a whole YouTube channel, a whole bunch of videos on traveling the world as a speaker, so you can go check that out as well. All right, let's go to the next slide here. For my 9-to-5ers, all right, we got to talk about my folks that are 9-to-5 people. That means you have a job, you're clocking in, working for other people, you're working for a nonprofit. 9-to-5 folks. I was a 9-to-5. I love you. I've also been able to travel the world with my 9-to-5. Now, here's what you're going to have to do a little bit differently than everybody else. You need to understand your company's training and conference policy. Now, this is going to be inside of their training dollars, their training budget. You're going to have to figure out what that looks like, what is the policy, and you're going to have to figure out who is the person that controls that for your section, for your division that you work in. And I had to realize, I learned later on when I was in my 9-to-5 that we have so much money sitting in a bucket, and toward the end of the year, they have to spend it. So this is where you kind of have to sell on, oh, I want to be able to go to a conference. Oh my gosh, I was selected as a speaker to go represent us or to talk about this topic to other peers in my industry. And most of the time your job will cover your expenses so that you can travel. But it does come down to you understanding what your travel budget looks like, what your training budget looks like, what your conference policy looks like, and what your speaking at conference policy looks like. This is where I said it's going to be a lot on you to figure out who is the person you want to talk to about this. And one of the first people that you could talk to is your immediate boss or the admin assistant for your group. The admin assistant for where I worked, oh, she was the truth. She knew everything. The other thing is start networking with people in your industry. You want to see where they're going, what conferences that their companies are sponsoring or being a part of, so that you can kind of get a better idea of what is happening with people just like you. And I'm going to give you an example of the tech industry. One of the things, the tech industry is global. They're always looking for skilled people, meaning to come in and talk about UX design, programming design, to help educate other people just like them. This is where you can take the things that you've learned at work to create best practices to get on stage to share with your peers. So I want you to think about that and start looking at the conferences that your company wouldn't really shy away from. Me working for the government as a scientist for the Navy, being able to go to other tech conferences, not an issue. Being able to go to tech fairs and present, not an issue. So you're going to have to find those events that will align with your company if you want your company to cover the bill for you. And of course, you're going to have to sell it to them as to why you're the right person, why this conference, and what they're going to get out of it. And usually it's going to just put a name to a face. Like as a woman, like, oh my gosh, I want to show that there's more women in the industry just to encourage people. So we're going to have to start looking at that. The other thing that you can do is to join training and hiring teams. Now, this is going to be very specific. This is where I say you're going to have to get down into the weeds of figuring out what your company does and how they get out there. One of the things that I was able to do, I joined one of the hiring teams, meaning I wasn't directly hiring people, but they needed people to go to job fairs. to talk about the company, to present the company, and to meet people. And that way I was able to travel throughout the United States, just going to job fairs, to some really crazy towns, and meeting some really extraordinary people. Now, you're going to be working the entire time, but you want to start looking at how your company is advertising itself. If you're working for that type of company, if you're working for a nonprofit, you might want to look at conferences that will align with your nonprofit so that you can go be a part of that as well. And here's the last thing that I want to tell you and this is for everybody. Even if you don't want to get on stage, if you're pretty nervous or you're not ready yet, volunteer for the event. One of the things that's interesting about volunteering for the event, they usually, if because they need you, they will cover your transportation and your lodging and give you some time to go hang out. So never turn down a volunteer opportunity, because you have a lot of room to negotiate inside of volunteering. I'm actually going to stand up right now. So I usually sit on my stool, so I'm kind of moving around quite a bit. And I need to take a moment. Hold, please. Sorry about that. It's live. This is what happens when you're live. All right, let's go ahead and go to the other slide. Please forgive me for being human. All right, now, so we've talked about exploring and researching. So I kind of want to tell you some of the most requested topics that I have seen when it comes to global events. Always leadership. Leadership is always just a global topic that can be maneuvered in any country, any place. Of course, do the research to figure out what some of the challenges are. Technology. I have to tell you, technology is a huge one. Like I said, I have found technology conferences all over the world. If you are a tech pro, if you can come and share your experiences, you can get on stage in just about every country. Communication, we're always trying to figure out different ways of communicating, and communicating is just a large pot of whatever that means. Marketing and advertising, the world runs on capitalism. Just FYI, marketing and advertising will always, always, always be a big one. In sales, no doubt, people will always want to have better ways of selling. So these are some of the top ones that I've seen for some of the global audiences. Not saying that other topics are not there. Health and wellness, all of that kind of stuff, diversity and inclusion. Specific to the industry. That's the other one. Anything that is specific to that industry helps out. So this is where I say you're going to have to do a little bit of research to figure out where you fit, what they want, and making them work for you so that we can get on the road and start doing our travel thing. But I just wanted to give you an idea of some of the most requested topics that I've seen during our research here at iFind You Clothes when it comes to global events, okay? And it never hurts to just get out there and start asking, hey, what is it that you're looking for? So just a few things to remember. All right, next slide. Boom, boom, boom. All right, what it takes to get a yes. Now, we've talked about all these other things that you need to set up in the beginning, but we really need to talk about what it takes to get a yes. And for those of you who are members of iFind You Clothes, it's not much different than getting on any stage. We're going to have to market ourselves the best way possible. Period. You're going to have to market yourself. So one of the things I need to tell you first is you need to kind of market yourself globally. Now, for those of you who want to stay local, stay local. You know, there's a lot of power in staying local. But if you're trying to break out from just where you are and want to go international, you're going to have to market yourself globally. And that does go back to making your talks global, making sure your talks can reach more than just the people that are right in front of your face. You want topics that can go from, you know, I can talk about it here in the United States. I could talk about it in Canada. I could talk about it in Japan. I could talk about it in South America. Of course, some tweaking, but you want to be able to have those topics that can travel the world. The next thing is you got to showcase your credibility as a speaker. You know what? If people are very picky here in the United States about getting you on stage, they're going to be even pickier in a different country, because remember, at the end of the day, we're going to try to negotiate some travel deals. So you're going to have to showcase your credibility bigger than what you think, okay? And that credibility comes down to having videos on your website. I got the wrong camera. videos on your website, logos of past clients. Make sure you get permission first. Past clients, making sure that you have an effective reach, that you know exactly what you're talking about. You are the go-to expert. This is what you're going to have to showcase on your website when it comes to credibility, so that an international audience will say, oh my gosh, you're really good. Okay. So you got to start doing that. And also you got to update your website and your talk. So all of this goes into showcasing your credibility, making sure your website is up to date. Remember, you're not necessarily networking with these people in person. And I mean, unless you got the money to keep flying back and forth, amazing. But you're going to be networking with these people through social media. And guess what? They're only going to be looking at your digital assets. So website needs to be up to date. Your talks need to be on your website and up to date. Your videos, your testimonials, all of that needs to be on your website. And of course, clean up your social profiles. Now, I'm going to talk about this one. And social profiles, everything from your Facebook to Instagram to TikTok. And I have to tell you, some of the big global ones, all of these social media platforms are global. LinkedIn is probably going to be your biggest one, because LinkedIn outside of the United States is really, really big, especially if you're dropping over into Europe. And like I said, this is going to take a little bit of research on you to figure out what social media platform is on and popping in different countries. TikTok is a huge one. If you're not a TikTok person, that's okay. But we got to make sure our social media is aligning with your brand, because what you have to ask yourself with everything that you're putting out there, does your brand represent your message? Are you consistent? Will I be able to go from TikTok to Snapchat to Twitter to Instagram and get a good idea of what you do, what you say, and how you present yourself? Will I be able to go on LinkedIn to see the most about you? And will I eventually be able to go to your website and say, you know what, you're the person I want for my gig? Everything that you say is exactly what we're needing. You're going to have to answer those questions for yourself, but it's going to be so imperative for you to kind of clean up everything that you're doing. Clean up everything so that your digital presence can get you closer to that yes. Remember, we're going to be networking with people in different parts of the world, and we got to show our best face forward, period. All right? Whatever that looks like for that industry, make sure it is being represented on your website and throughout your social platforms. All right. Let me know if you need a little bit more help on that. I will happily go a little bit deeper. For those of you who are part of I Find You Close, we do office hours every Friday. So bring your questions. Tomorrow is free for those of you who are guests, to just, if late at night you're like, oh my gosh, I have questions, Felicia, you can come join our office hours tomorrow, absolutely for free, and bring your questions. Okay. Woo. And we do those every Friday for those of you who are watching the replay. Every Friday, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, so we've talked about your website. So now we have to get into, you got to learn how to negotiate, period. You have to learn how to negotiate. I have to tell you this. A lot of people always come to me and say, Felicia, how do I get paid to speak? I only want to get paid. I want to get paid. I want to get paid. I want all the things. I want, all the bling. Here's the thing. Your ability to get paid, to get compensated, to travel, to do all these amazing things comes down to your ability to negotiate. Sometimes it will be very clear what an event is going to offer you, and they will say, we're going to do this, nothing more. And then sometimes you're going to be invited to events where everything is a little bit in the gray, and this comes down to your ability to negotiate. If you don't know how to sell, if you don't know how to negotiate, as a business owner and as a speaker, and I hate to tell you, some of you, we have disconnected speaking from business. It's the same thing. If you're a speaker, you're in the business of speaking. You need to know how to sell and negotiate. One of the things that I have committed for myself is once a year, I do a sales course. I read sales books all the time. I read books on negotiating. Read all the things. Find reputable people that can help train you. I know you're going to say, like, do you have any resources? There are some people I love, some people I don't love. I'm just going to leave it a little bit open at the exact moment, but this is where you as a business owner are going to have to start looking around for some of the reputable people in your life that you don't mind learning from. And remember, they are not the end all and be all of selling. You should kind of keep updating yourself with different people, different tactics all of the time, because if you're trying to do this, if you're trying to get on stage, this is going to be key to everything when it comes down to traveling, when it comes to getting paid. It's going to come down to your ability to negotiate. Like I said, there are tons of books. If you are a Kindle Amazon member, I think it's just like $10 a month. All you got to do is search on books on negotiating, books on selling. Just start educating yourself. Drop a book in every couple of months just to say, you know what, I need to update how I'm selling everything. Look at classes. Right now we have so many online courses. Just make sure you ask questions about the course and make sure it's the right course for you. Make sure, just do your research behind everything, but make sure you invest in this. This is going to be one of the biggest investment tools that you're going to, investment resources you're going to make as your business owner, as a speaker, is to invest in classes and practice. One of the things I love is practicing negotiating. I know quite a few of you have children. If you have children, you have nieces, you have nephews, you have the little kid that's always knocking on your door selling candy and popcorn in the fall. This is where you learn how to negotiate. I say children are some of the best negotiators. A funny story, I went over to a friend's house, and she has 5 kids. She has 5 kids, but only the little ones were there. The youngest was 3, and the next youngest was 5. And it was dinner time. And so she had made a pizza, or they ordered pizza, and he didn't want to eat pizza. And so she said, you know what, if you eat pizza, you'll be able to go watch television, because he wanted to watch TV. And then she wanted him to like eat some oranges or something like that. It was some weird situation. So he said, well, what if I eat my oranges and then I can get ice cream and then I can go watch TV? And so they went back and forth. It was the weirdest thing. This 3-year-old negotiating with his mom. And I think she really just wanted him to be quiet and go watch television. Because she had guests. I was over. She had guests. But somehow he got out of eating dinner and only ate a few oranges only to get the ice cream and then go watch television. This is where you learn how to practice negotiating. Children are amazing at negotiating. So if you ever need to practice, go practice with some kids. If you have some, practice on your own kids. The other thing is, if you have an accountability partner, another business partner, start negotiating with them and practice all of these different things so that you can be in the best position possible when it comes down to negotiating. Now, one of the things I will say about negotiating that a lot of us mess up on is that we understand we have to negotiate, but we don't understand what we're negotiating for. I know it sounds strange, but we get all hyped up. We get like, yeah, I'm going to negotiate. And then, when I work with clients one-on-one, it's like, what is it that you want to negotiate? Well, whatever they have. No, it doesn't work that way. Before you walk into any of these situations, especially as a speaker, especially if you want to travel as a speaker, you need to understand what is it that you're trying to negotiate. Now, for me, my thing is one of the gigs I wanted to go to London, but I wanted to stay for a few days. So, all right, I already knew, all right, I'll do this speaking gig, but I want to attach 3 more days on. So what is it that I can negotiate? Maybe I can't really negotiate the plane ticket, but I can negotiate that hotel room, because if any of you know, sometimes the hotel is 10 times more expensive than the plane ticket. Or especially if you're not getting paid, you got to negotiate all the things. And my thing is, you might be thinking, well, you're traveling, they should pay you. Every situation is different. Like I said, you got to look at what works best for you. So one of the situations I was in was, okay, they said, well, if you come, you'll be able to market yourself, be able to sell, and we'll take care of one night of hotel room. And I countered and I said, you know what? I actually love what you're doing. I really want to be in front of the people. How about we negotiate? You take care of my room and lodging costs for the 3 days that I'm there. If you need me for any other networking, I'll do that. But also, and I'll do that and be able to have smaller groups with the people. Now, I added a little bit more of myself, but I also knew that I was going to be able to hang out in one of my favorite cities a little bit longer. So this is how you really have to start negotiating all of these things. The one thing I also did when I was working, and you can do this a lot, if they are covering for your plane ticket and they say the event is Thursday through Sunday and they get you a plane ticket from Wednesday through like Monday, you can say, you know what, I found another plane ticket that is the same price from Monday to Monday. How about you take care of that? I come do the event. It really doesn't cost them anything. You're just extending your travel. So like I said, you need to know what you are negotiating. That's where a lot of us completely mess up when we're in these situations. We don't know what we want to negotiate. So here's some things so that you can know what to negotiate when it comes to traveling. Here's what you can negotiate. Transportation. Transportation can include plane tickets, can include train tickets, somebody picking you up from the airport, somebody touring you around wherever you're going. Lodging, that's another thing you negotiate. Introductions, this is a key one. If you want to meet more people in that place that are running events, do your research and say, hey, I see that you're connected to the event planner for this other event. Can I invite them to your event so that we can get introduced and I get an introduction as well? Introductions, you can negotiate for an introduction. Tours, now this may seem a little weird, but if you're really trying to go to a place, you can say, oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this. Is it possible I can tie this in? Is there somebody from your event that is responsible for this? You can negotiate this stuff. And like I said, this is where it comes down to you doing the for you doing the research as to the event and who's possibly there, because if they really love you, they're going to try really hard to make you happy. Okay. Also, you can negotiate for compensation, whatever compensation looks like for you, and you can negotiate for expanded travel times. There's a lot more that you can negotiate, but here's the thing. Like I said, you need to know what it is that you're trying to negotiate before you walk in, because we walk in and we just assume they're going to give us this stuff. Woo, you know what happens when we assume, right? We get into a lot of trouble. So you need to understand what it is that you're negotiating when it comes to this travel thing, so that when you walk into the situation, you're going to ask like, hey, I noticed this. Is it possible I can get this tacked on to what I'm doing when I come and speak for you? Also, you have to tell them, other things that you can provide for them as well if you're trying to negotiate all of these different things. Not to say that everybody's going to say yes, be ready for some no's, be ready for some, I don't think so. But you want to not take this off the table. Even if they say they're absolutely not going to do this, just approach your negotiating with, you don't have to be humble, but don't be a diva. And that's one of the biggest things I've heard from event planners. It's like, well, I told them no, and then they just tried to ram it down my throat. The other thing is, don't wait to the last minute. This is what a lot of people try to do, is they will get selected to come and speak, and then the week before they say, oh, this is really expensive, or, oh, I've noticed this. Can you add this on? Don't wait to the last minute to do this stuff. Give yourself room, because one, you don't want somebody to build marketing around you and then you look like not a great person for trying to pull the stunt at the end of the day. And here's what I also want to tell you. Big camera here. When you are inside of these industries, when you're dealing with these planners, event hosts, event planners, whoever you're dealing with, remember that the world is very small. The world is very, very small. And I don't think we realize that. When I was booking speakers for 4.5 years, I knew all of the other people who book speakers for other events in my area. And what would happen is people would contact me and say, oh, I saw that you put, Jane on stage. How was Jane? And then sometimes I will say, nope, Jane is a no-go. Here's some of the things that we saw as being unprofessional when they came to speak for us. Or it can go the other way, like, Jane is amazing. So remember, be professional with all of the things that you're doing. Be very, very professional, because the world is small. A lot of these event hosts and event planners have big reach, and they can tell people to watch out for you, and you don't want to be that person. You really don't want to be that person, okay? That's not cool. All right, so now we've talked about a lot of things about what to negotiate, how to negotiate. So let's go ahead and start getting a plan of action. Of course, if you have any questions at this point, please put them in the comment box. Or if you have questions tomorrow, make sure you sign up for one of our office hours, absolutely free, and I will answer the questions for you there. All right, plan of action to travel the world, get paid, make money, all these other things, Choose where you want to go first. I know it sounds really, really silly, but choose where you want to go. Choose a location. I have done some of the oddest things when it comes to travel, and I say, you know what? I really wanted to go to London. I really wanted to go to London, and I had some connections in London, so I started reaching out to them. That was like some warm connections, but same thing. Choose where you want to go. Choose it. Now be very clear. If you just want to go on vacation, go on vacation. If you don't mind working at the same time, do it. Okay. Now I've been able to add in vacations when I've gone to, when I went to Edinburgh. No, it wasn't no, not Edinburgh. Sorry, Edmonton, and I went to Alberta, up in Canada. And what I was able to negotiate was 2 additional speaking gigs, because I was going to come up there, also go camping so I can go to Lake Louise. And so we were able to negotiate quite a few different things, some paid hotel stays. It was a really cool, but first you need to choose where you want to go. I kind of knew what I wanted to negotiate and the amount of time I wanted to be there. So choose where you want to go. The next thing is, and this is so not a shameless plug. I am so not shameless about this. Use iFind You Clothes. You could use our monthly membership. We post mainly here in the United States, but some global events virtually. But we do have other resources that if you want to work with one of us one-on-one to find these things, this is what we do all day. We just research events. So you can reach out to us if you need help with the research and where to start. You can find us, go to our website, ifindyouclothes.com. So like I said, not a shameless plug. I'm so proud of what we do here. The other thing that you could do is research events and groups in an area, and also check out the CVB website. Now, I'm going to show you something really quick. Now, the CVB is the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Now, I'm here in Denver. I live outside of Denver, actually, but you have Visit Denver, Visit London, Visit the United States. This is actually an industry, and these people get together because tourism is a job. Tourism makes money. So they are always on top of what's going on in their area. So I'm actually going to give you an example of this. Let me make sure I don't screw up. I'm actually going to switch over to my main camera, and I'm going to turn me off. So let's just say, like I said, I wanted to go to London, and this is one of the CVBs. This is the Convention and Visitors Bureau website for London. You're going to have to kind of do a little bit of, digging for whatever country you want to go to. Now, the cool thing about this convention website is they kind of tell you what events are happening in the country that you want to visit. Now, this is definitely going to be more for selling the location of the event to people who want to have events. But the thing is, they tell you the other events that are happening. This is how you start doing the research, and you start looking at the events that are going on in the area. Now, right now, because of COVID issues, large events are kind of not happening. So not the best example, but in the times that we have, this is where you would want to go and look for things. So we are also seeing events here, and also these will be past events so that you can start doing your timing. So let's just say you want to go, you're a diehard Vegas person. The cool thing about Vegas is all you have to do is do a search on Las Vegas Visitors Bureau. Boom. Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. I can't talk right now. And the cool thing is they have it right here when you do your search is meeting and conventions. So what we'll do is we'll go over to the meeting and conventions part of the website. And the one thing that's beautiful about Vegas, they tell you everything that's coming. every every single thing that's coming. Now, one of the things that you can do is you can make friends with the people at these convention and visitors bureaus. Just reach out to them, send an email. You could send it through LinkedIn, Instagram. I've done this whenever I've gone to travel, and just ask the simple question of, "Hey, what kind of events are going on at this time?" And make sure that you are being timely. If there's an event going on you're traveling next month and you want to be a part of an event, it's not going to happen that way. Make sure we're planning far, far, far in advance for this. Okay. So if you see that they had an event in April of 2020, 2021, 9 times out of 10, this event is going to happen next April. You can reach out to them, who's the contact, find the event, do all of these little things. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of taste of what that could possibly look like when it comes to reaching out to these convention and visitors bureaus. Remember, also reach out to your network. If you have a network of people in different countries, ask them. They know what's going on better than what we do, because we're not living there. The next thing is network on social media. Reach out to people. Don't throw them your website. Just say, "Hey, I'm curious about what kind of events that you go to." Or you could say, "I'm looking for some more speaking engagements in insert country. Do you know of any events? Do you know of any people that would need someone like me?" All of this is going to be networking. All of this is going to be researching. All of this is going to come down to what you are willing to do to put in so that you can do this. One of the things that I did when I first started this, I gave 8 hours to looking into different countries that I wanted to travel to, and it worked out very well. I travel to the places I want to go to. That's me. Because I do speaking a little bit differently. But you got to start doing all of these things. So when you're ready to do this, like I said, choose where you want to go first. Choose where you want to go. Make sure you start reaching out. If you need to hire some resources to do this for you, we're here for you. But you can reach out to events and groups in the areas that you're trying to target. Look at the CVBs, which are the Convention and Visitors Bureaus. Look at convention bureaus. Look at event websites and the places. If you want to go to Rome, start looking at what's going on in Rome, festivals, all of that kind of stuff. And then you start looking at those events and seeing where you can fit. And then once you start doing that, start reaching out to people, start reaching out to folks and just networking, and then start pitching. Do your research, then pitch, okay? Don't just say, "Oh, I saw this event, I need to be on stage." I've had people do that to me. It never works out very well. But do your research, and then you can formulate your pitch around getting in front of these people. So let's make sure we covered all of these things so that you can see this slide again when it comes to having a plan of action. And so let's go ahead and move on to the next one. I'm not a singer, y'all. So things to remember as we are planning to travel the world and take our message out there. Travel is possible right now, but there's a whole lot of buts. We are in the age of COVID. This is a very interesting way to kick off a decade in the age of COVID. It is what it is. So just read the fine print, understand what events are dealing with. Understand all of the things when it comes to moving around to different countries. You need to start adjusting how you're presenting yourself, marketing yourself, and do the research to see what opportunities are out there for you. Also, market yourself. Market yourself a little bit more globally. Market your talks a little bit more globally. Make sure that you can fit. Start looking at industries that you would be perfect for and that have worldwide reach so that you can get out there and start, traveling. Learn how to negotiate and learn what to negotiate. Do not walk into these situations without having a plan of what it is that you're really trying to negotiate. Have your list, and based on what they're saying, you start adjusting so that you can get whatever it is that you want, okay? And make sure you're graceful with this. Make sure that you're professional. When you come in and bring diva attitude, people remember that and they will start telling others about it as well. And then finally, just get organized and create your plan. And getting organized means doing all of these things that'll get you on stage to get a yes. It'll make you look great, update your website, get organized, and create a plan. Remember, we have to start timing things, okay? This is all about timing. Just because you're going on vacation next month doesn't mean somebody's going to put you on stage next month, unless you're Oprah. And 9 times out of 10, Oprah is not watching this. And if you are Oprah, I love you. But create a plan. Start timing, start looking at where you want to go, how you want to get this in. If family is coming with you, remember, this is all about negotiating. I've been around people who've negotiated to bring family with them so that they can get tours of things. So remember, it's all about setting yourself up first, doing the research, and then just going out there and having so much fun. I will say the between 2018 and 2019, I got to travel to a lot of different places, and it was so much fun. You're going to be networking with people. You're going to be seeing different people. Make sure you remember them, because they may want you for later on. They may want you for a future event. So put your best face forward. And also remember, you're going into different countries. You will be the oddball. And, you know, for those of you who are the Americans watching, you will be the American when you go to an event. So you may get some weird little things about being an American, but you will definitely stand out, and people will always remember you when you are slightly different from everybody else. Now, of course, if you have any questions around anything that we talked about, make sure you put them here in the comment box. For those of you who've been watching through YouTube, you know, just hit that watch on YouTube button. Hopefully this was useful to you. You got a few things that you can adjust, and all of this does apply for when you are traveling locally. If you are in the United States and you only want to travel to the United States, this works. Going into different states, doing the research, seeing what's going on, seeing what events are out there. The other tip that I can tell you is look at some of the hotels in larger places. Hotels list their events. There you go. You can see what's out there as well. For those of you, if you're watching and you are in Europe, you want to country hop over there, this works as well. Make sure your topics can just fit wherever you're going. And yeah, it really does. It sounds simple. It's a lot of work to it. But once you get into the groove of this, it's going to be a lot of fun, so that you can go to some amazing places. And the other thing is you get to go to some parties too. I love it. Especially when you go to an event and they have people coming from different countries. They really go out of their way to kind of show you the best of what they have. So don't be surprised if everybody wants to take you out to dinner or take you out to the bar and just, you know, give you the impromptu tours. I've had so much fun doing that. So again, I want to thank you so very much for those of you who tuned in. If you are interested in more speaking gigs, I want you to come check us out at ifindyouclose.com. It's right below us in this video. You can come check us out. For those of you who are members, you know I appreciate you for being here. Of course, if you have any questions, you know how to find me. And we will always do our office hours every Friday. So if you just watch this and you have more questions, come and join us. Go to ifindyouclose.com/office hours, sign up. You can also find our office hours on Eventbrite. Yeah, we do it every Friday. Absolutely fun. So I hope you've learned a lot. I hope you've enjoyed it. We're pretending like we're at the beach, even though we're in the basement in Colorado. I'm going to be at the beach soon. Take care of yourself, and I will see you at our next session. Bye now.